Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you on a Friday. First one we had of the offseason. Great to be back. Great to see everybody. Combo, always great to have you with me by my side. How's it going so far?
All is well, calmed down a little bit after Summer League, working on shows, working on things. It was good seeing you out there. I know the people have been enjoying our content. I think we even have maybe one more left to go, but everything's good.
Oh, that is right. I got to get onto that one. Which one is that one? We talked about Bronny. We talked about
Reed Shepherd.
Reed Shepherd. That's right. Okay, so
Is he the next Nash?
Oh no. Okay. Well, I don't know if I see that, but you never know. I certainly think he's going to get a shot to show us some more stuff this year.
Definitely. I think part of the reason that they traded Jalen Green, obviously the main reason is to get Kevin Durant. But the second reason is because they believe in Reed Shepherd.
Yeah, they feel like they can plug him in there. And I just think that those two moves really help the Rockets either way. So I'm not mad. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about what we're leading off the show with, which is Skinny Luka. The interesting thing about this is that we've seen Skinny Luka before, right? He's tantalized us in the past and other off seasons with some weight loss. We just think that he'll come into shape. Doesn't always seem to stick. What do you think about this one?
Well, we actually saw it in a larger sample size when he was playing with Real Madrid, where he won MVP of the EuroLeague as a teenager. So if we see more of that combined with the IQ and the wisdom and the NBA experience he already has, I think an MVP season is loading.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, what I'm looking for generally is definition, muscle tone, muscle definition, which we didn't ever really see. He might have gotten thinner in the past, but he still seemed to have very, I guess if the word unimpressive arms. And this is an interesting difference in my mind, looking at some of these photos, the photos are a little bit interesting to me. They don't necessarily give us the best information on some of these weird angles, but it definitely feels like maybe we see some more definition in the delts and the biceps. What do you think? Are you seeing anything like that I'm seeing here?
Well, he definitely got skinnier. He showed up to New York, to Dyckman Park, and was sitting courtside at a street ball tournament. Shouts to Dyckman, used to play there growing up, and from 19U to Unlimited, a great tournament. Shouts to Kenny. So he pulled up there for New York versus New York, and he looked skinnier. He definitely looked skinnier. I mean, he had a T-shirt on, so you couldn't see if he was ripped or not, but right. He's noticeably skinnier.
Yeah, even the cover picture is just it's like in the middle of him doing, exercise with a hand weight in his hand. So I don't know. So that's my interesting thing. And there are some NBA players that are out there that do not have muscle tone. Like Jokic is another example. He does not have muscles. It's weird.
I mean, Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce was like that for sure. What's the shooter? My God.
All right. Even if you go to any YMCA in America, Coach Nick, there's probably some guy there getting buckets with no muscle tone who's better than the dude who was lifted for 3 hours, who has all the muscle tone.
Garrett Dudley was like that. George Niang. And by the way, when you look at the footage now of Luka as a younger player, it's like it's not the same player. It's crazy how much bouncier he was. He was really active, and the guy is 26, whatever. It's really kind of sad that he had gotten beaten up so much in these games, and then his knees are always been a problem. So, but I think it's clear that if he could continue to keep this weight off, it would really help him across the board. The face is another one of those things, right? His face was just getting so wide. And in my mind, and this came up a little bit, no one talks too much about it, but I'm kind of thinking that the food in America, maybe we brought this up at some point, but he's been training in Europe again, and there's no doubt in my mind that if you're eating food that's not processed like it is in America, then you could A, slim down, and B, be less inflamed. Like, it's inflammation that we all sort of suffer with, I think, at certain ages as well. When you're younger, it doesn't have to affect you as much, and he is in that range. But you could tell he was like a balloon version of himself by the end of last year.
Well, they definitely use less additives when we're talking about Europe. And for the first 5 or 6 years of his career, he was in Texas, which is known for its very heavy food. And now he's in LA, which is a little more health conscious. So maybe that, alongside being next to LeBron, will help him along this health journey.
Oh, yeah. Like in my politics pod, I get made fun of often by living in LA and talking about the kind of foods that we eat here. because I kind of forget that the rest of America isn't necessarily like that, and they don't necessarily focus
Big city. I feel like big cities are more health conscious.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but certainly, LA is,
Yeah.
and doing things like juice cleanses and stuff doesn't seem to be that strange. But when you talk about it to other people, they're like, "What are you doing?" So anyway, someone's asking about the politics pod. Which, by the way, if you have a question you want us to answer, the best way to do that is the super chat function over on the YouTube side. And it'll also help us keep this show going. And we would really appreciate it. Give you lots of love, lots of hype. But Alex wants to know what the politics pod code is. And the politics pod is called the Muck Rake Political Podcast. And it's actually pretty popular, believe it or not. I mean, I think that the stat was 99% of pods out there get less than like 100 listens an episode, something like that.
Wow.
But we're way bigger than that. and have a really robust Patreon subscription to a lot of people there, which is really amazing. So I'll type it in here, the Muck Rake Political Podcast. And just so you know, if you are interested in, if you fall on the right side of politics, like with on the Republicans and conservatives, you probably won't want to listen to it. But maybe you do. Maybe you want to hear what the other side has to say.
Yeah, it's good to listen to opposing views sometimes, right?
Yeah. So there it is. At any rate, but by the way, the cool thing about our politics pod, which I think people would like, or people do like, is that we do a lot of historical context as well. So we go way back into the history of America and discuss how we got here. And I think that is more illuminating than a lot of other pods you hear about politics. So at any rate, so we have Luka. He's thinner. Obviously, I think the direct correlation to being in better shape would be more explosive, to be more flexible, would then yield better play overall, which is still hard to imagine for a guy that's averaging 28, 10, and 10 or whatever he's doing, right?
On the other side of things, though, I feel like his advantage at times, even though he does break down with injuries, like we saw the calf strain, is that he could just bully people. So he might be better, but he also might be different.
Yeah. I think, and different's better. I think it would be good no matter what. Obviously, when you're in better shape and you're stronger and quicker, that's just better for basketball.
That's true.
In Los Angeles for 28 games, he was 28, 8, and 7.5. I mean, that's Hall of Fame numbers. That's really robust stuff. But you'll have to also figure out, again, how to play alongside a newer team. LeBron is going to be 1 year older. And they did do a couple of major moves. So they brought in DeAndre Ayton, who I think should be pretty good, have some version of a resurgence in his career. And Marcus Smart. Well, let's talk about that because I feel like that went under the radar a little bit. What do you think about Marcus Smart playing in LA?
I love it because I think he brings the defensive toughness that they lacked last season. So He's a guy, if it all comes down to really health with him, right? I think if he's healthy, he's definitely somebody that could fill a gap that they need. And then if you, on top of that, bring in a Drew Holiday, now we're really talking because I don't think Drew is going to stay with Portland too long. So things could get interesting in LA.
Huh. I guess I didn't really hear Drew is a native of LA, so he would definitely probably want to get back home. And that would certainly help as well, right? Because it seems to me in the NBA, the only solution that defensive coaches have to improve their defense is just to bring in some defensive player, someone they know is going to give out a lot of on defense, which to me a little bit takes some of the responsibility off of the coaches who are supposed to be doing that coaching thing, right? And now that said, the coaches will go back to me and say, well, we don't have any practice time during the season, so how are we supposed to develop that defensive mindset?
And the stars do whatever they want.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there are very specific concepts defensively that you should be harping on as a coach. And harping is not the right word. You want to encourage and focus on so that your players will play good defense and will be in positions. Because even the ones who don't give out on defense or don't play as hard as others, if you can get them to be in position early, then they don't get beat as often. And then you'll have a much better defense all around. So I just worry that there's this notion that the only way to improve your defense is to simply we got to get Marcus Smart in here.
Yeah,
and that'll just solve everything.
I think you have to attack it from all angles. You want better personnel, but you also want the best strategy possible also, right? And schemes that fit your personnel. So I think both sides are really important. You can't just have great defenders and no schemes, and you can't have just schemes with no talent on that side of the floor either.
Right. Okay, fair enough. And then the other thing is okay, what does make Marcus Smart a good defender? Now, by the way, I don't think he's as good as people think, by the way, defensively.
Why not?
I think he gets lost on on the weak side.
Well, his on ball
good.
on ball is good.
But he'll get beat on the weak side. He'll overextend. He'll gamble too much, things like that. And if you maybe you can argue that he's earned the right to gamble because of the effort he gives out. But it's not always effort to me that ends up yielding what a good defender is. And so I get frustrated. That's been that title has been granted to a number of players in the league who I felt aren't really solid enough defensively to merit that. I mean, even like Rudy Gobert is a guy who does one thing very well, but even then there are moments where he's not challenging shots where listen, he doesn't have to challenge every single shot. I get it, but that's what his role is. And sometimes it happens in these games where I'm like, why he didn't even go for that one? Like, that was weird. And then obviously they talked about how the issues can come up on the perimeter, which again are overblown to some degree. But even like I remember back in the day when it was who was on Memphis? Who was the guy who couldn't shoot or couldn't dribble but was a defender from Chicago? Tony
Allen. Tony Allen.
Tony Allen. I was never really sold on his defense. I mean, listen, he gave out 100% on that end, but I just still felt like there was there was improvement to be made there. So Marcus Smart fits into that bill for me as well, where I just feel like granted, is he going to be better than what they had? Like, probably. Is he better than D'Lo on defense? Like, yes, for sure. And so thank you, Dante, Tony Allen. But and then will Smart have this sort of quarterbacking notion to him? Maybe, but I've also often felt like he ends up, that's not a great role for him either. So we'll see. I'll let him. I'm anxious to see, and I'll be really happy to find out if he does ultimately become that quarterback, Draymond Green kind of guy for the Lakers. That would be great to see. I don't know if he's there. I don't know if he's ever really been there. But and then plus you're going to have to deal with Marcus Smart on offense, which I think will drive Luka and LeBron a little crazy.
Shoots it better than Draymond. Doesn't defend nearly as well, though.
Does he shoot it better than Draymond? Remember, Draymond was 40% 2 years ago and was probably
well, he gets them up. It's important to get them up too.
Let me just see what Marcus Smart shot, and he's been sort of in obscurity the last several years with Washington and then Memphis when they weren't great.
Well, he's been injured
at all, so we haven't seen him play 70 games in the season since 21-22. Okay, so that's another thing that's interesting. And in that year he shot 33% from three. And in the 15 games with Washington, he did shoot 39%, but traditionally he's 32% for his career. I don't anticipate it being that much better, and that's Draymond's territory.
So do you think? I mean, I feel like they have to guard him out at the 3-point line more than they have to guard Draymond.
Maybe, but I wouldn't guard him. I think you're splitting hairs on like just how much gravity either of those guys have. Like your point is great in terms of the Draymond. He'll shoot 40% from three on like 2 attempts a game, 3 games. They're just not going to go out there. No, even if he makes it.
Right. Some people get paid just to be guarded. Like Duncan Robinson's like that.
Okay.
Draymond is not that. You're correct.
No. Draymond's not that. And I don't know if Marcus Smart is either. I don't think he is. I bet you if we looked up his wide open shots, they'd be high percent.
Okay.
But that's the other problem and Marcus Smart is now going to be 31. Isn't that crazy? He seems like he should be 34, 35 at this point. Like he's been around that long. But
so that gives you more hope on the injury side of things,
I guess, but it simply hasn't borne out in the last several years. Since 4 years, he hasn't been able to do it. So, and then by the way, there is a notion of that where like when you play that hard / maybe a little bit reckless defensively, you're going to get hurt more often. I know when I was coached, when I was coached and I played, I was like the best defender on our team. And I was like that. I have a hip replacement at 37 I needed because, partly because of that, I'm sure. Throwing my body everywhere, just going all out 150% as hard as I possibly could. And I was effective, but I was also out of position and off balance. And I think it created, situations that didn't need to happen defensively. So there's a better balance I think that coaches could use and unlock for players to defend in a smart way, to be in position, to take away what you want to take away. Because obviously nowadays you can't stay in front of anybody anyway. So you know what I mean? So I feel like we need to kind of readjust the way we coach defense and not sort of demand shutouts. It's another thing we see times from a lot of coaches, and they wig out when the other team scores a bucket, when that's going to happen a number of times every game.
Overseas, it used to be like that. Like at times, it wasn't about the process; it was just about the result. Like the coach would be happy if the other team didn't score, and they would just be unhappy if the other team did score, even if you played great defense. It was
Yeah,
it was frustrating. That was
yeah,
frustrating.
and we just see that a lot where it's like college is worse than the NBA. But you'll see that they just detonate and they'll spend all this time and they'll scream and yell and they'll be doing all these drills.
Yeah, I feel like NBA coaches are pretty process driven. I don't think they're like basket to basket going crazy. I don't see a lot of that in the NBA.
It's better there, and they have an understanding it. Yes, like
Yeah.
the guy's going to hit you with an in and out tween behind the back. Like
Right.
you're not going to be able to keep them in front, but you got to be able to angle them out, keep them in front as much as you can, and then get a hand up. That's the big one for me. It's just like, can we get a hand up? Can we keep them out of the middle? And can you avoid helping one pass away off of any kind of shooter? Those are the big ones. No middle and no help one pass away. I think if you can do that. And then on the margins, work on some rotational stuff with your pick and rolls to avoid, major mismatches down low, for instance. Then you should be okay and or good, and then you'll avoid foul trouble. You'll create shots that are difficult for players to make as you can, and give yourself the best chance of winning without getting hurt. So
I
that's
think it's like
interestingly enough, I don't think that someone like Marcus Smart has been involved in injuring anybody for diving, like we've seen, like Cole Anthony, for instance, has done it a couple times now, hurting people. And we just saw that Bogdanovich retired, having gotten hit by, oh boy, who was it? Somebody dove across his legs, took him out. He never really came back from that. So interestingly enough, right? Marcus Smart, I don't think has ever been involved in that kind of injury play. Am I forgetting one? Do you think? Can you think of one?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think so. I mean, to your point about defense, I think so much of it is just like, as a team, what are we going to give up? And that's team to team, individual. Like in the playoffs, especially, it's like, what are we going to give up? Because you can't take away everything,
Right.
And that's really what you could try to take away everything, but that's not going to happen in the NBA.
Yeah. Well, let's get to our next subject we want to talk about. Should we talk about the NBA trying to expand?
Yeah, so they're doing something in Europe. It feels like they're going to try and create a league out in Europe eventually, and then the other places would be, if they're going to do it in America, probably Vegas or Seattle. That's what it all feels like.
Yeah, and then there's some interesting things going on. Like, I don't know if we got into some of the conspiracy stuff about LeBron and the Lakers and Luka, and then the team owning stuff, right?
Did you see like him on the yacht with what was it, Jokic's agent? And
yeah, so they're talking about launching their own version of that, which doesn't make much sense to me. They should just partner up with the NBA and do it. But the other thing I would almost think is just have the EuroLeague and the NBA be under the same umbrella and have them play in the playoffs. The top few teams of each league should be the playoffs. Wouldn't that be interesting?
I would find it interesting. I don't think the average NBA fan realizes how good EuroLeague is, though.
You're right. Well, I mean, that's what I was thinking, because it's like, if you were going to do a mix of playoffs, would they say, okay, well, the top two EuroLeague teams against the, and then you have 10 teams on the NBA side? I would say if you get down to the bottom of the EuroLeague stuff, you might end up having, how much lower would that be than the worst playoff team? Like, that's interesting. I think it does separate a little bit toward the bottom, but I think that, at that point, why would you splinter off more of the talent? It just seems like, I would want to see that either way. I'd want to see some way to intermix the EuroLeague, top of the EuroLeague and the top of the NBA, and have them go at it. I think you're right. I think that would be a great series. Some of those series would be great.
Yeah, what would that mean, though, for the NBA if they start struggling with EuroLeague teams? And the other thing is, whose rules you're going to use? Because that would be at a tremendous advantage for whoever gets that side of the coin.
But FIBA is moving more towards the NBA rules, so they added like the gap.
If you watch a game, it's very different, though. It's just
you're talking about how the way they enforce fouls.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah,
and travels.
You think that even now the travels are different after the
All right. I mean, I wasn't playing abroad. I wasn't playing abroad since like 2018, but I know the traveling was different.
Right. Well,
because like you can't even rip through in transition, or they're going to call it. Like, I've been called for that.
So, and what you're talking about is if you're running and they pass you the ball, you have to like spike it down to the ground.
100%.
Which, by the way, I love, and I would almost teach that in America, even if you could catch, throw it out in front of you, take a step, and then run and then dribble it. So But they allow that now.
Wait,
That's easy.
wait, you think that's an advantage to have to spike it down?
I mean, I kind of just for some reason I like it. Right, it's not an advantage because when you can catch and then throw it out in front of you, you can go faster.
Right. If
I liked, I don't know why.
If
but,
you could get away with it, I'm just saying, if you could get away with it, I would do it every time. Rip through, like you could just go.
Yeah,
you could just
I don't know. It's been a minute since I've broken that down and remember what really intrigued me about it. But getting the ball down, you could still spike it down and go as well, I suppose.
I mean, different is good, right? It might. What'd you say?
You know better because you played in that, and so you can.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the ability to rip through and travel in transition would give you an advantage if you're allowed to do it. I mean, that's how I felt when I was playing.
And let's make it clear, it's not a travel. I mean, with the gather step, it's not a travel because you have your step down and then you can lift that up and then release into.
Well, of course, I'm just saying they used to call it on me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All the Americans go there, right? And they get called, and then
you have to get used. You have to get used to it. You know.
Well, let's get to Braun, best friend of the breakdown. Awesome to see you, Braun. Great to have you. Always there for us, no matter when, where, or how. Was there anything you learned from OKC's defense? Well, one thing I learned was that nobody remembers the bad boys. Nobody remembers the New York Knicks defense from the early 90s because the outrage you saw from just a little bit of physicality was I thought ridiculous, especially compared to anything that we grew up with. I mean, that was still nothing. That was just a little handsiness, right? A little bit of movement, a little bit of showing your chest and contact. I thought OKC's defense was clean to say the least.
What do you think they're going to do differently this year, OKC, or it'll just be status quo? I like the addition of Topic. I think that brings them a real point guard, which they don't have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen some of the highlights, and I'm excited. Should I do a video on that? I kind of wanted to, but I don't think anyone wants to watch an OKC Topic video.
Say, can this 19-year-old help OKC? I think it's cool.
Well, it's why OKC is unfair or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, that guy's good. So part of me wants to see him have his own team, though, to see what a true rookie campaign would be. Because if he gets minutes, it's going to be limited, especially in the beginning. So I would like to see him on a different team to see what he could do. But I also think he fills a gap for OKC. He really plays a position that they don't have on that team. Actually,
I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches for them because they're going to get stuck with the second apron stuff soon enough with all those players. So you're going to see a Dort and a Caruso and all those and Hartenstein gone, but they don't need to worry because they can bring Wallace and they can bring the other Williams in, and those guys can do really well alongside Shea and the big three, the other two. So it's this is how you run a franchise, and this is the second time they've done something very similar to this. So if you want to doubt Sam Presti, I don't know what you're not. It's not an argument at all. It's insane how well he's done that.
Yeah, I mean, this has to be one of the greatest front office jobs you've ever seen, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, we can't forget the fact that they got rid of Harden. They traded Harden to Houston, and that trade will never be considered good for OKC. But the fact that they were able to build that and so quickly, and then had an NBA Finals team, and Harden was the reason, right? He kind of crapped the bed during the finals, and there was a 1-1 against that Heat team, and they really had a chance. And then, remember, in my memory, I have to go back in those breakdowns, but Harden was missing layups and throwing the ball away. He couldn't, whatever that was about. So I kind of get there was that movement for that, but, he ends up becoming, imagine if they had kept that team together and it worked, right? Could they have made that work with Russ and Harden and KD?
Yeah. I think especially in that era.
I mean, those three guys tend to be lightning rods, right? Where they can't seem to get it going. They tried multiple versions of All-Stars together around them, and none of them seem to be able to keep it together.
It's crazy the tree of players that played with those three, right?
Yeah.
You think about it.
Yeah. So anyway, anything else we learned from OKC team? I mean, certainly I would hope that other teams would emulate that. But that's what you're supposed to do. Here's a team doing something no one else is doing.
They don't have that personnel though, Coach Nick.
Well, Indiana did, and I was doing videos to show. Look, Indiana's being physical. They have
Chet
Chet
and Lou Dort. They don't have those kind of players,
Well, they might not have Chet, but they have Nembhard, and they had oh my goodness,
Nesmith, but he's not Lou Dort, but he's really good defensively.
And they were really physical, and Turner was physical, so it wasn't like they weren't being physical in this very similar way. For whatever reason, maybe it was because of the inevitability of the OKC winning, although it went to game 7 and they were about to get beat until Hallie goes down. Or I don't know if they're going to get beat, but they were, it was right there for them. Some weird, I don't know. You never know how that works in terms of narratives and how that took over. I was just always very surprised that it took over so quickly, and that there were just so many people, obviously non-OKC fans, who just decided that they hated OKC. Now, part of it was, I guess, we're going to talk about SGA's foul grifting and whatever. And I've given up. I've given up trying to explain why that's skill.
Mic check.
Yeah, you're working.
Go ahead, keep going.
What's going on with your mic, man? You lost your mic holder too? You're doing handheld?
I kind of like the laid back feel.
Okay. At any rate, so there was a weird thing that the narrative turned, and I think it was probably rooted in SGA in the beginning, taking fouls, and then it kind of just like morphed into, okay, their defense too, in a similar weird way to me. So that's the one thing that OKC probably have to battle, is some sort of villain origin story that's sort of taken hold on them. You know what I mean? And maybe they don't care. They're just going to keep winning.
It was interesting how their celebration was. It didn't seem like they were as excited as some previous champions.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I think that might be the new thing, right? These younger guys, they don't party. They don't know how to open up a bottle of champagne. Like Caruso had to show them how to do it. That was interesting. I don't know. It's not like a criticism. You'd like to think that they're going to really enjoy the moment somehow. And
do you think
what they do? Great.
Do you think there's something to the fact that, like, let's say with Michael Jordan, he had all those years, he had more years he didn't get there, and it feels like he even had tougher challenges. It's always very hard to win a championship, but just like losing to those Celtics, losing to the Lakers, that wasn't all Eastern Conference, but losing to the Pistons twice, and then finally winning, it was like more of a crazier journey.
Yeah, if you don't mind,
like
accuracy's sake, they beat the Lakers in the finals, but they lost.
Before they won a championship, I'm saying, like losing to the Celtics, losing to the Pistons, and then inevitably getting through the Pistons and winning a championship. No Lakers. You're right. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, Lakers was what they broke through to win. And remember, I was there at all those games. And also the Celtics, just again, just for accuracy's sake, they had to go play them and got swept early on when the Celtics were so good, 85, 86.
He had 63 on them, though.
But they had to but it was really difficult to get through Indiana. It was really difficult to get through the Pistons and for the Knicks. Then you're right. There's something there that certainly made it worthwhile. And Michael breaks through on his 7th year versus SGA getting it in his 5th year, whatever that was.
But not only that, their second and third player being like second year or third year,
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting, and there is a younger notion to a lot of these good teams now, right? Like, to be a really good team back in the day, you had to have veterans, you had to have 28, 29, 30-year-olds who had gone through a lot of more fire, perhaps. It could be nostalgia that we're talking about here, because these games are difficult too, and the paths are not easy. The players travel a lot easier now, and all that stuff is made easier, and the schedule is a lot lighter than it ever used to be. That's another big part of it. And we're still seeing injuries that you probably just can't avoid. But at any rate, it is. It will never. I think it's just a team thing. I think it's just this particular group of players together, and their mindsets and their personalities, indicated they were not going to go nuts. Now, who knows? We did see Shea on one of those talk shows the next day. He looked, pretty rough. So at some point they ended up, enjoying something way into the night. It's just outside of the cameras.
Yeah.
All right, we got another super chat from Stinky Dipey. Thank you so much, Stinky. Mike Brown, lazy hire, or will he help the New York Knicks? We already kind of went through a lot of this in another show, but I'm sure people didn't hear it. So what do you think? What do you think about Mike Brown?
Not lazy. They tried to hire every other NBA coach, so they did their due diligence.
Okay.
I think they just didn't have a lot of options at one point. I think he's a good coach. It's just not that splashy. I would have brought in Mike Malone, me personally, but Mike Brown's a good coach. He's coached lead leaguing offenses. He's coached league. What's up, my English? League leading offenses, league leading defenses, and he's also coached some great players. Right, from Kobe to LeBron. He has a lot of experience. That Kings offense was really good, and he did have Sabonis and Fox playing off each other really well. I'd like to see him use Cat and Brunson more in actions together. Maybe that's something he could do that Tibbs didn't really do at a high level. So I think it's a good hire. It's just not that splashy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what got him the job. He came in there and said, look at what I do with this offense with the Kings versus what they were running before. That said, he could also be in that category of coach that doesn't quite get you to the next level, and you need somebody else to come in and get you there. I'm sure he pointed to his experience as like the head coach of the Warriors while Steve Kerr was hurt, as some other version of that as well. But so I don't know. I think that the other question then is like I've always sort of been concerned about Tibbs is the negative vibes, and it's constantly like the churn of that can weigh on people, even though those guys can handle that and they thrive under that, yada, yada. At some point, there might be a moment where you can't quite get there either because there's just a cloud. And I don't know if Mike Brown alleviates that cloud either. He is in the same era and same age. Actually, Tibbs is a lot older than we think he is, right? How old is he?
But Mike Brown brings better vibes. I think he's more likable around the league, more well-liked than even Tibbs.
Yeah, probably. Now, Tom Thibodeau, how old do you think he is?
55?
67.
Jesus.
Yeah, right? He's way older than anybody thought, which is crazy. He was coaching in like the 80s. So that's one
crazy.
thing. Now, Mike Brown is not 67. Mike Brown is probably a little older than me. Let's see here. Mike Brown age. There's one Mike Brown who's 89. That's not him. The other Mike Brown is probably looks like a couple of years old. He's like 55. So, so it's a different era, but still enough of that era where, those coaches are lighting. I mean, remember, why did he get fired? Because he hung, what's his face out to dry. Lefty. Thank you. Who went to San Antonio. My goodness. That's the second time.
De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox, right? De'Aaron Fox didn't have a proper coverage on a three-point shot. And he, at the end of the game, kind of said that, right? And so sort of put it on Fox. Not egregious, but enough where it sounds like that was the beginning of the end, right, for him. And
I think it was a sign. I think it was a sign of the bad vibes that were already there, probably.
Yeah. So you have to be careful about that because there are other coaches who understand vibes, I mean, Billy Donovan must understand vibes because it's a little unclear to me how he got an extension. He's still there, through all of that tumultuousness and non-winning in the Chicago and stuff that kind of made me scratch my head coaching wise too, game management stuff too. I think maybe Donovan has that Chuck Daly feel of like how to talk to players and how to connect with them too. So that's why he's still there, I guess. And that's the question: is can Mike Brown do that? And I suspect he'll learn. He certainly. I don't think you're going to see him light anybody up in a post-game press conference again on his team. So anyway, by the way, you want to help his offense, right? The offense. We got to help the offense. We got to do this, whatever. They were 4th in the league in offensive rating. Like they were elite offense. Now, again, we talked about that before in terms of the quality of shot and how difficult it was in the playoffs for a guy like Jalen Brunson, and that needs to get better. And that's the one, again, on the margins here or there. But do you realize if they had just won Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals at home, what would have happened then?
What would happen?
Well, if that ball doesn't bounce off the back rim, go 25 feet in the air, and then drop straight back down, right? And they win that game, like the Knicks probably go to the finals. Right? Like, it's like the most random things there. And then I can tell you Thibodeau wouldn't have been fired, right?
Or what maybe if Jaden Ivey's healthy with the Pistons, they lose that series. There's a lot of ifs.
I know, but that bounce was a really big if. And wasn't that the one off of the missed free throw?
And also, Tatum, I think we all think that the Knicks would have won, but Tatum did tear his Achilles in that series too. So that's a break for the Knicks.
Yeah.
That's
true too. Yeah, all those you're right. So it would have could have, but again, I'm just again in terms of that, like they got to the conference finals. They hang on to Game 1 at home, like because remember they went down 0-2 at home. That's pretty much guaranteed a loss. And if they didn't do that, and if that ball doesn't just crazily bounce like that, then then we're not talking about Mike Brown, in New York. It's crazy how all that happens. But we have another super chat from Scoldylocks for thank you so much. It's so generous of you. Really appreciate this. They want to know, do we think that Marcus Smart or Rui Hachimura starts for LA? This is a great question. I feel like Smart balances the lineup better, even if Rui is a better player. Thanks for the offseason content, by the way. Rocking my friend of the breakdown shirt now. Oh, wow. Awesome. Great. Love it. I got to do a redesign of the Friend of the Breakdown T-shirt for sure. I'm gonna do some merch this month. So what do you think? Do we think that Marcus Smart or Rui is going to start for LA?
Wow, that's tough. Well,
let's see here.
I would start Marcus Smart.
Wait. Oh, I have to go back to the previous season. You would start Marcus Smart over Rui?
Yeah.
It's funny because like Rui keeps being the guy that's like left out in the cold on the right, and then they remember, oh wait, he's pretty good, and they do really well with him. I mean, here's the thing: we know they're going to start LeBron, we know they're going to start Luka, we know they're going to start Austin Reeves,
Ayton,
and Ayton. So now you have a choice between a shooting guard and like a small forward, and they're both so different. I don't know who would complement them more. You know what? Marcus Smart might end up, they might want him in there for like the defensive stuff. Even though Rui, there are moments of Rui can kind of play defense. He can play some post defense. He's not bad on that end. But I don't know. My feeling is I bet you Rui gets a short end of the stick again.
Yeah. Marcus Smart's the better defender,
Yeah. And I think that they'll probably end up going through a lot of different lineups. LeBron isn't going to play a ton of the games, right? So they'll have different starting lineups there, and that'll probably be where Rui and Marcus Smart start together alongside Luka, right? Because of those off days, and then vice versa if Luka has off days as well. So that'll be one interesting thing there to see. But are they better? Are the Lakers better this year than they were last?
I think with Ayton and Marcus Smart, yeah, they're better. And then Luka's going to be hopefully in better shape, which we're all seeing. Yeah.
Lost Dorian Finney-Smith, who was part of a lot of really good lineups
Luka teams.
His numbers weren't, amazing, but the lineups played really well alongside him, which is obvious. And you have a 3-and-D guy like that. Gabe Vincent's still there, right? He's still under contract. Let me check real quick. But,
but also I think Smart and Rui instead of Dorian Finney-Smith is a plus, right?
I'm just telling you, Dorian Finney-Smith fit in very nicely there. And speaking of defense, is Smart better than him defensively? I don't know.
No, what I'm saying, Smart and Ayton, is
to combine
together. Yeah, combined is better.
Yeah. All right, probably in the macro sense, they'll get more out of that. I guess Jackson Hayes is just not going to be the guy. I had high hopes for him to be able to really fill that role.
They signed him.
I know, but like obviously Ayton's going to start, and he's better. And I just don't know. I don't think Jackson Hayes is going to be the guy who I thought. In that Capella role, and perhaps
Capella,
you need more than that anyway to get farther.
Capella's a lot better than him.
Capella's a lot better than Jackson Hayes. Yeah, but it's that same role: vertical, alley oops, blocks and block shots, rebounds, high field goal percentage.
But Ayton
gives you a whole mid-range game I like from him, which I think people have forgotten about.
IQ, feel, athleticism. I feel like Capella's underrated. Like that guy's really good.
I guess he's but he is who he is now. I don't think he's going to get any. He's not going to get any better. He's good. And, he's doesn't really have a lot of ball handling skills. Isn't going to be a major factor.
Yeah, that's not what he's there for.
Yeah, I know, but can you win? Can you get deep in the playoffs with a player like that, with a Rudy or a Capella? I don't think so. You got to have more variability on that from that position.
Well, Rui. What was farthest Houston went with him? They went far, right?
Ella? Well,
yeah, and I think they didn't lose. I think they didn't lose because of Capella there. So. Oh,
no. They lost because they missed 27 straight threes in the game 7, right? But
that's what I'm saying. So we've seen it. We've seen Capella be
Yeah, but even then, that 10 years ago, the NBA it's so radically different even now. So
it's true. But that team was actually playing like now more.
Kind of, yeah. I just think though that it's important that from that position you got to have somebody who can handle the ball a little bit and do a little shooting. And you'll see that even those teams have somebody off the bench who comes in and can do it. But that's the next question: is can you do it with just the starters, or can you do it with just like reserves coming in and not the starters?
You're kind of talking about how like Evan Mobley is like he has all that stuff, but then also he can handle the ball a little bit, like enough.
I don't know if it's enough. We'll see. He's got one more year to really solidify in my mind the offensive stuff.
Well, he was all NBA this year, right? I think he was 10th in MVP voting.
He was.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That's pretty good for a 21-year-old.
Okay. Yeah. No, he keeps getting better. And so I would want to make
I
sure.
mean, he has more passing and ball handling chops clearly than like a Capella. You know?
Yes. He
Yeah.
does. He does. And he's got like, well, yeah. And Mobley is 23, by the way.
Okay.
So that's another part of it. But anyway, let's get to our next super chat. We have Alan Tran. Thank you so much, Alan. Always great to see you out there and being part of the conversation. Do you see any team picking up Ben Simmons? That's an interesting question. I think he'll get a shot, right? I think he'll be inexpensive, and they'll get a shot at someone who can probably. I mean, they can keep trying to figure out if he can play center, right, and then be a point center. Again, that's another example where you can get a lot out of that, where you don't necessarily need him to spread the floor that much or at all. But if you get driving and kicks and stuff, but
you're lagging slightly. I just wanted to let you know that.
I am. Oh well, I think that means that the show is probably starting to lag.
No, it's been like that for a little bit. I just didn't want to interrupt the show. But Ben Simmons or Russell Westbrook, who has a better chance of getting signed?
Oh wow! I mean, I think that they both are probably even. I mean, it's a weird offseason, right? Where just not a lot of moves, not a lot of free agent signings. I think they both get signed. I think they probably have both the same. And I think it's likely, right? I kind of get why Russ didn't have a huge number of suitors. I mean, I've been talking about this for years and years, and that makes sense. And same with Ben Simmons. But I think ultimately teams are going to look at this and say, okay, we could use a veteran that's been through some stuff, and maybe we can squeeze a little bit more out of them. So I would be surprised if both of them did not get signed. But I think that they both end up somewhere. Don't you?
Yeah, who could Russell help, you think? I thought Ben Simmons to the Knicks was a good idea. I think the Knicks shut it down, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, things change overnight.
So who do you think Russell could help? OKC?
I don't know. You want a guy that's like, all over the place. I don't know who really wants that. Misses layups, throw the ball away. But then it turns out he hurt his hand. Did you hear this recently? His hand was broken or something like that.
Okay.
Now, I got to tell you, there were turnovers where I'm like, is his hand injured? Because the ball would just float away without, his hand. It was some of the weirdest things. And so that actually makes more sense. All of a sudden, okay, so if he can get his hand healed, he won't turn the ball over, some of those things. And that might have even affected the layups. So, but, it wasn't reported at the time. But that apparently, and someone can confirm that maybe in the chat, there was some, he was trying to say that his hand was hurt. And he was playing through all that. By the way, so was Jalen Williams, and he was much better with a broken hand or whatever he had. But again, I get why there's no market for Russ, and we'll see.
Kudos to both of them for not giving that information. It's tough to not let anybody know that you're that hurt. But
yeah,
when you
play,
it
would have benefited him if we'd have known. Because then we would have at least understood a little bit more some of the weird plays. If that was really what happened. But anyway. All right. Well, listen, I think we covered everything we got to cover in this show.
I think so too.
Especially if I'm lagging.
Yeah, you are lagging. We got to figure that out for the next show.
I have a new modem and a new wireless modem that they sent over to, so maybe that'll do it. I'll install it for next time.
You didn't install that yet.
Well, I think I installed the new modem. Did I talk about that in the last one?
No, but you're lagging. You were lagging for sure this episode.
All right. Well, anyhow, I'll replace it and we'll see what happens. But great stuff, and we'll be back again soon. I'm going to be out of town a little bit next week, but we'll figure it out when we get back.
Figure it out.
Some news happened. But
good.
Thank you all for being part of the super chats. Really love it. Great, nice crowd on a random Friday, August 1st. Don't let the terrorists get you down too much, and don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Combo?
Yes, sir.